to be able to, well, communicate. There's only one place on the planet that's associated with this connection of heaven to earth, and that's right in Roswell. Here, it's on top of a Tibetan plateau. So the Roswell coordinates, longitude and latitude, are a function of pi. It goes backward and forward. You can multiply the latitude times pi and get the longitude, divide longitude by pi and get the latitude. Now there's more to that equation than even just pi. Leviathan itself, if you actually would look at the letters in the Hebrew, they equal numbers. And these numbers added together come up with a number here that is actually a function of pi 2, and the number of days. Symbolically, it's actually saying it's a cycle. Our days are measured actually as we go around the sun in a complete circuit, and pi is the measurement or the symbol of that circuit. It's saying it's a connection, and it's interesting because the language here actually means a connected serpent, and the numbers say the same thing. It's a function of time. And so if you take all this together, the dimensions of the Earth in nautical miles, 21,600, and you divide it by 33, you'll get a symbol, a number that's actually close to what the aeon is. You just have to move the decimal place over 1. And it's because this number is so versatile, so powerful that it's revered. It's also, simultaneously, it connects time to space, it connects heaven to earth, it connects Mars to earth, it connects us to the divine through what's going on in Jerusalem, or what went on in Jerusalem and what will go on in Jerusalem. But you take all these numbers and you can actually create an equation here. Take the distance around the Earth in nautical miles, divide it by 33.33, the most sacred number according to the illuminated fraternities. You get the number of the quaternary of the precession. Divide that by 19.47, you get exactly the place where I believe the Roswell crash happened in latitude. Multiply this by pi, and you get the longitude exactly. It works in a mirror sort of image. You can continue to write this equation in a circle. As you take this equation and actually plot it on a map, you see that here's the beginning of 33 degrees, and here's the end of 33 degrees where it actually would become latitude 34. So this is the only line that I would actually plot. And it's a function of pi in each little point. And the very middle here is where this equation works. It's actually telling us something, and it seems to be warning us about a point in the future. Here's a map with a star plotted there for you if you want to actually go out there. I left that there for some strange reason. So I guess I was trying to get out here. And so this is what Roswell says geometrically. There's even more to it than that, because there's actually a suggestion that it's connected to the birthday of our own country. Of course, it's in America, but I looked into that too. And it comes into sort of a spooky range, a kind of a, I would say an esoteric sort of theurgic range of math, because by just playing with this decimal point, you can actually get the longitude of the Roswell event, the crash place. Just move the decimal plate over and put a 0 there, and divide it into 1776. And you can continue by putting these other symbols, these other geometric signatures in a line here. But what's interesting is our symbol by choice is the eagle. And if you look at the history and the actual genesis of this symbol, it was originally not, as Benjamin Franklin said, an eagle. It was a phoenix. I think that maybe these illuminated founders of our country had a lot going for them when they looked at what we were doing in perspective of the future. I think they understood what the phoenix represented. I think they understand this time cycle. I think they were looking forward to the future. I think a future that is ours. Now, you can connect these equations, and I could stay at this little frame for way too long, so I won't. You get the idea. You also get the motif of the phraseology that's repeated over and over again. The compass rose is what you use to navigate in earth, to know where you're connected under heaven. The rose cross, which is another symbol of this idea of having a connection with heaven. And then, of course, rose well, which may be a stretch, but, water is something that roses need to grow. And, of course, in Hebrew, if your head is a rosh, if you need to live, you need water. To learn, you need to fill your head. But it's also a function of a geometric system of understanding time. And if we understand time, we can understand the future and what the divine is all about and what the divine's plans are. By the way, the actual name for Ezekiel's wheel was Galgalim, which incorporates the same idea here, Galgal, with Golgotha, the head, the crossbones, and you have this symbol that goes in between here, the cross that actually connects the 4 points of the zodiac, the cardinal points. Now we get into something that's heavier. Everyone, I think, if they connect 2012 to prophecy, will understand that there's something to do with the Mayan calendar. This is actually the sunstone. It's an Aztec calendar that they borrowed from the Maya. It was buried by the Spanish in Tenochtitlan and not discovered for maybe 200 years. It's about 12 feet across. It's huge. Weighs about 5 tons. They buried it, and then it was rediscovered in the 1700s, and interestingly enough, you can actually, not the 1700s, don't quote me on this, but you can actually see here that they've recorded these 4 little destructive epochs on the earth. Each one of these represents 6,480 years in between each one, and a destructive epoch. One by flood, one by fire, one by animals or something, and there's one by earthquakes. And there's one left, because the calendar ends here. It just so happens that we know now what that's all about when it comes to how the galaxy is aligned with the ecliptic and how that aligns with the solstice. It just so happens that that's the solstice. Here you have Quetzalcoatl, the serpent god who lives in the heavens. His name actually means the feathered serpent, so that's an allusion to the idea that he's up in heaven. And he has a guy protruding from his head. This guy hasn't been eaten. He's willingly leaving the body because he's an avatar. He's a manifestation in human form of this great serpent god that lives in heaven. And that's in fact why Cortez was able to pull one over on Montezuma so easily, because Montezuma was actually anticipating a man coming from another place to set a new age into motion, to actually come and set into motion a golden age. It's the same sort of idea that the Freemasons have of moving from out of one order into a next order. And here, this is from the book of Revelation, and it said that this tail is sweeping 1/3 of the stars from heaven. Well, 1/3 of anything from 100% is 33.33. And we know that 33.33 on the earth in degrees is 2,012 miles, 0.9, to get really specific. That puts you right in the ballpark of this. Same date. Oh, we got a lot of connections. Serpents, heavenly serpents, time and space. And the dragon motif is kind of strange because it keeps talking about this red dragon, a big red one. It's rose-colored. Of course, there's a lot of information in that just suggesting Mars, but the actual word dragon from Greek, drakion, means to look or watch. And these Greys have actually called themselves watchers. At least those channeling them say they have.